The Google Admin Console allows you to manage the creation of shared drives as well as some associated settings. However, it can be a little bit confusing how these work. In this video, we'll clear up how they operate. Shared drives have a number of settings that managers and admins can change. If you go into the Admin Console, go into Apps, and we'll go down to Google Workspace, Drive and Docs settings, and then we select Manage Shared Drives. Let's go into one of these and just open up Settings. You'll see that there's 4 settings that can be changed. The first one gives you the ability to control whether or not managers of a shared drive have permission to change the other settings. If you don't select this option, then managers are not able to modify these other 3. The remaining 3 settings control access to the shared drive. Now let's go and have a look at the settings for creating shared drives and see how they operate. You can find them under the settings for Drive and Docs, and then go into Sharing Settings. Then if we scroll down, we've got this shared drive creation. If you want to edit these settings, you can select an organizational unit at the left, or even a group or specific users. Once you've chosen who you want to change the settings for, click in the Shared Drive Creation box to edit these settings. The first option is pretty straightforward. It allows you to block users from creating a shared drive. If this is not set, then the following settings will apply to any shared drive created by these users. Enabling Prevent Full Access members from modifying shared drive settings means that created shared drives have the Allow Managers to Modify Shared Drive Setting option disabled when they're created. Note that this doesn't affect the setting for any existing shared drives. It is only applied to newly created shared drives. Similarly, if you set any of the remaining 3 options to prevent the relevant actions, any shared drive created by these users will have that setting set initially. Remember that if a manager has permission to change the shared drive settings, they can go and edit it after creation. Now let's have a look at a couple of scenarios to help understand this better. We're going to enable the options to prevent people outside the domain and non-members from accessing the shared drive, and then we'll switch to a user in this OU. So let's create a new shared drive. So now we'll go into the settings, and you'll see that both those options that we'd set in the Admin Console have been disabled here. But since this user's a manager, they can still go in and modify these settings. We're going to go back into the Admin Console and next enable Prevent Full Access members from modifying shared drive settings. When we switch back to the user, you'll see that in this same shared drive, they can still modify these settings. That's because the setting only applies to newly created shared drives. So let's create another shared drive. We'll go into the settings. So once again, these 2 options have been disabled, but you'll see that now that all of these options are grayed out, and that's because as a manager they're not allowed to change these settings. It will now require an administrator to change them from inside the Admin Console.